picture with me.
Ladies and gentlemen, time for the show. Once again, thank you for coming to our theater tonight. Have an enjoyable evening. The refreshment stand will remain open for a short time. Still plenty of time to get a snack or cold drink. We'll make an announcement before the stand closes to give you plenty of time to get that last-minute treat.
The Adventures of Mr. Incognito.
Hi guys, Mr. Incognito. I'm going to talk about thieves again, but this time around about the judo practitioner. I'm going to talk about this. The other day, traveling into Manhattan, and I was on the New York subway, and I'm minding my own, reading the daily news. Oh, sorry that read the Post, but I was reading the daily news. And that one of the guys out the subway car is talking to his coworker, and he happened to mention George and Steve's being brothers. And I'm like, continues to go on. I mean, I've heard this ever. Why would anybody think that George Reed, Steve Reed, there's just simply because same last? That's like saying Christopher Lee is father named Lee. Well, you know, I'm over there at first, minding my business. New York subway. All the cops in. So, hey, go up to the guy. Dude, you're perpetuating a myth. George Reeves and Steve Reeves aren't any relation. Don't tell me, man. I know. George Reeves and Steve Reeves were brothers. And I'm like, no. He was actually born George Brewster. Later, he was adopted by his stepfather and became George Besselo. And just before he made his movie debut in Gone with the Wind, don't tell me, George Reeves and Steve Reeves are brothers. And I'm like, one was born in Glasgow, Montana in 1926. The other, I believe, Ashland, Kentucky. Don't hold me to that, but I believe he was born in Ashland, Kentucky in 1914. They're not related. So man, I heard it. I'm like, I don't know what I can say to you. They're not related. He said, for how much? And I'm like, pull out my wallet. I got $200 here, any or all of it. He goes, okay. I said, okay, do you have a computer here at the train station? I ain't looking at no computer. You're not looking at a computer. No, anybody could put anything on a computer. Well, how then do you propose to prove that they are brothers? Well, I heard him. I said, well, wait a minute, time out. You heard him. Now, I want to go to the computer and pull up information. You can go to any site you want. On the other hand, I'm just supposed to take your word that you heard someplace, or you think you heard someplace that you... Well, I heard it. You know who Edward R. Murrow was? I said, yeah, he was a radio broadcaster. He said, well, he was more famous for TV. I didn't want to go into and break this guy's whole world and say, well, he made his reputation on radio before there was TV. You know, I got enough trouble over here trying to prove that George Reeves and Steve Reeves aren't brothers. So he goes, yeah. So I go, yeah, I know who he is. He goes, well, I heard him on there. Okay, let's see. George Reeves died in '59, so there's a possibility that we're talking about something you heard over 50 years ago when you were 10. But I can't go. I said, tell you what, my man, do you always work at this time? He said, yeah, why? I will come in tomorrow with some, oh, you gonna bring in some books, huh? Yeah. And he was like, man, George Reeves and Steve Reeves are brothers. So, you know, I went home that night and I pulled out my copy of Hollywood Kryptonite, and you know what I found there that's really interesting? George Reeves is an only child. Wait a minute, it gets better. Hold on. I then went and got my copy of Worlds to Conquer, an authorized biography of Steve Reeves. You know what's a coincidence? You know what George and Steve have in common? Both of them are only children. So, you know, the next day, I take this book and that book, and as any good reporter would tell you, have at least 3 sources. I brought this book to the subway station. I then approached my man. There he was at the top of the stairs. I don't know what he was bull bleeping about this day, but he was bull bleeping. So I walked up to him and I said, my man, which one of these books will you choose to ignore? And he said, I ain't looking at none of them. I said, I expected that. That's why I said, which one of these books do you choose to ignore? He then told me, man, just get on your train and get out of here. I mean, why do people perpetuate myths? I have no clue, but they do. And this is a perfect example of them. So if anybody ever tells you George Reeves and Steve Reeves are brothers, don't believe them.